Why do we pay so much tax here in the UK? It's the highest it's been for 70 years. 7 decades of higher and higher taxes. How do UK businesses stay in the game? And I'm worried that so many successful, talented entrepreneurs and millionaires are going to leave the United Kingdom and go to tax havens around the world, taking their wealth out of the UK, making our economy smaller and even more difficult to do business. Let's break it down in this video. There's 2 types of taxes that really the UK government can take from us. There's personal tax and business tax, and I want to touch on both in this video. Personal taxes are the highest they've ever been in 70 years. They're taking more from us than ever before, and inflation is making that horrible, because I actually feel we're in a period of stagflation. The economy is stagnant. It's not growing massively like other developing countries around the world. My real worry as well is that talented, wealthy entrepreneurs, business people, go-getters, they're the people that we want to drive our economy forward, can just hop on a plane and leave. And we're not just talking about tax havens like Dubai and Singapore that are creating environments for these successful people to say, come here, do business here. We're going to create an environment that's going to make it easier for you to employ people, easier for you to start a business. Then when you make profits, we're going to allow you to keep those profits to reinvest into your companies and grow our country's economy. It's not just those countries that we all read about. It's countries like Portugal that are only an hour and a half flight away now, making it easier for you to just go over to Portugal and grow a business over there with much more tax efficiency. But now let's just look at why the government needs to tax us so much personally and professionally for a business. They've got all these different services that they need to fund. Now, whether we feel that they do that in the most effective, cost-efficient way as entrepreneurs might think is a different subject. But let me just show you just how much they're spending and why they need to tax us so much. If you check out Positive Money, they've produced this article showing exactly where the government spends its money. They've got £137 billion from the NHS, £97 billion on education, £74 billion on state pensions. That's a real worry for them, because as people are living longer and healthier, that just is ballooning in value. £51 billion of debt interest. Now, interest rates have just gone up, so that's going to go up further. Defence, £40 billion, £31 billion on policing, and £21 billion on transport. They've got to bring in a lot of money to service all of that debt, and I get that. But the problem is, I think taxing people to the absolute hilt just makes people not want to grow. And I keep waking up and every morning thinking, why am I doing this? I'm just generating cash to give to the government rather than to pay it to my employees, to invest it in my businesses, to grow my businesses. And that is such a worry, I feel, for the entrepreneur not wanting to grow their business. I mean, we done a video just a few weeks ago looking at the size of UK businesses, the amount of businesses that are stopping themselves from going over £85,000 worth of revenue just to not pay VAT, because they know if they go to £130,000 worth of revenue, most of what they're going on after the £85,000 worth of revenue goes in VAT after their cost of sales to pay to the government. And that's just a disincentive to grow your business. Let's talk about how VAT rates have changed. They started out at 10% in the 60s, 70s, then they went to 8%, then they went up to 17.5%, then they went to 15%. In some certain sectors, they went down to 12.5% recently. Now they're back to the all-time high of 20%. That's 20% of your turnover taken. Now, I know some people will say, but James, VAT is the government's money. You're just collecting on behalf of them. That's all very fair when you're talking about a builder's merchants that generates an invoice for £1,000 plus VAT. You're collecting that money and you're putting that to the side, blah, blah, blah. But what about if you're a restaurant and you do £1,000 worth of sales? £200 of that £1,000 roughly is the government's money, because that's the VAT on your total bills for food. But the problem is you haven't got anything to offset that against, like the builder's merchants. He's bought in some of those materials and he's paid VAT on those materials and he offsets that against the VAT bill. But hey, if you're a restaurant, you're bringing in 0 rated items. So basically you're just giving away 20% of your sales with no offsetting at all. And then what you do is you just think, right, okay, how do I cope with this? I'll cut the staff, I won't pay myself. And it just gets harder and harder. And that's why you see so many hospitality, leisure and service-based businesses really struggle, because I think turnover taxes just kill them. Let's talk about other turnover taxes, because it's not just VAT on the consumer market, it's also business rates. Business rates, they're killing our high streets, they're killing so many of our communities. They're just grossly unfair and a disincentive to then grow your business. If you're a mobile hairdresser and you want to open up your first shop and employ 4 or 5 people, you're thinking about VAT, you're thinking about business rates, you're thinking about employers' national insurance, the actual cost to take on an employee, the taxes that you pay to the government for actually doing a good thing for the country by employing someone, providing them a job, is just astronomical. I always tell business owners, factor on 30% on top of someone's salary for whatever you pay them. So for every £10,000 worth of wages you're paying, that's really costing the business another £3,000, £13,000. Why? Because you've got the employer's national insurance, you've got the pensions costs, you've got your holiday costs, you've got your training costs, you've got all your HR costs, etc., etc. It costs a lot to employ people. My real concern about this is we're starting to see companies like McDonald's and supermarkets putting in self-service checkouts because they're just seeing this is just too expensive now to employ people. I think that stuff would have always happened because technology is a thing that's always moving forward, but governments are accelerating the pace that companies just think, I just can't afford to employ people anymore because you're taking too much, you're taxing too much, you're taking the incentive from us growing our business. And in a roundabout way, the government will get the tax in another way, because if you grow a business, then you sell a business, you make profits through corporation tax, you should be getting the taxes that way. People feel good when they invest in their businesses. They don't really feel good when they're just throwing money over to the government and not knowing what they're getting on return. They don't see roads being fixed or long waiting lists at the NHS. I don't think people feel they're getting a good return on their investment with their taxes. And let's be absolutely clear, when most people build a business, they take very little from the cash that the business is generating. You'll meet an entrepreneur that's got a £10 million revenue business. It's making, say, £500,000, £700,000 worth of profit a year. You're thinking, wow, that person's earning £500,000, £700,000 worth of profit. No, very, very rarely. I think most entrepreneurs and business owners that have got a £10 million business might pay themselves way below £80,000, and they use all of their cash they're generating to employ people, to reinvest in their business, reinvest back into the UK economy, to grow their business, to try and get it to the next level. Certainly most entrepreneurs that I meet, that's what they do. And so they really plan on an exit to make their money. So they just basically take a salary for running the business for decades, and then they sell their business, and then they have what we call a liquidity day. That's really what great entrepreneurs and business owners should be doing. They should be having the mindset of, we're building a business to sell, even if we have no intention of selling it. And at that stage, you would pay a capital gains tax. And in the UK, we have entrepreneurs relief. And up until a few years ago, you paid 10% on the sale of your business in terms of tax rate up to £10 million. And what the government did recently is they reduced that £10 million down to £1 million lifetime. So you only get it once up to £1 million. So if you sold your business for £10 million 10 years ago, you would pay £1 million worth of tax. And now today, if you sold your business for £10 million, you would pay 10% on the first £1 million, so £100,000 worth of tax, and then 20% on the rest. It's still way more tax efficient than earning it as income, but it's just another stab that the UK government have put in disincentivising entrepreneurs and business owners on choosing to grow their business here in the United Kingdom. And my message would be to anyone that's maybe watching this from the UK government, remember this. The world's a smaller place, and the internet is here. Communication is faster than ever before. People can leave, and they are leaving, and that's a real concern. I'd love to know your thoughts. It's not because I'm some greedy capitalist making this video. I want people to keep more of their cash so that they choose to invest it. People are better investing their own money rather than the government doing it for them, in my opinion. If you've loved this video, then why not come along for one of my seminars? I run seminars throughout the year, one on property, one on buying companies, one on getting customers, and one on business in general. Tickets are only a few £100, and I guarantee they'll grow your business. You can buy your tickets at jamessinclair.net, and you'll spend the whole day with me to grow your business. See you at one of my seminars.